Okay, welcome. We're back to another LifterLMS training with Brendan Tully. Today we're talking about SEO for course creators and training-based membership sites. Yesterday we had Brendan talking about site speed, which I got a lot of feedback about how much people loved the episode or the webinar. There was a lot of actionable advice and just great learning and education in there. So I'm really excited to see where we go today. I first came across Brendan. I took his course, which is over at ParetoEcommerce.com. Vilfred Pareto was an Italian guy who figured out something called the Pareto principle, which is essentially that 80% of the real estate in Italy belong to 20% of the people. I believe that's how it works. Maybe you can correct me on that. But it's the 80-20 principle we hear about a lot, where essentially let's focus on the 20% that gives us 80% of the results. But today we're talking about SEO for course creators. Brendan, welcome back.
Thanks, man. It's good to be here. Yeah. So talking about SEO the topic is for online courses and membership sites, but broadly this is going to be applicable regardless. The same principles apply pretty much regardless of what type of site that you're running. So should we get into it?
Yeah, and just a few quick housekeeping things. I took Brendan's course and I started implementing it right away on the LifterLMS e-commerce site, which is actually a WooCommerce site more than it is a course site. But I started getting results right away. And what I loved most about his training was how actionable it was, and how in the very beginning, especially, there was all these like quick wins of things that I could tweak in the Yoast SEO plugin and just like basics that I had been overlooking for years. And I started noticing results right away. So I just want to throw that out there. Like, I guarantee this training is going to have a lot of low-hanging fruit, like stuff that's not that crazy to implement, not that time intensive. So I'd encourage you to check that out. Also, we're going to cover a lot of ground. If this is anything like yesterday's training, Brendan covers a lot. So if you have questions, use the Q&A box or the chat. And if you are watching this on Facebook, leave comments down below the video and we will get to them. But yeah, ask questions. We're going to have a Q&A section at the end, so feel free to.
We'll have the slides, but quite often we can go off. We might go off on tangents, so probably wise to be ready to take notes just in case as well, I would say.
Yeah, and Anthony was saying he's back for more. Yesterday was great. Cool. Robert saying thanks for yesterday. Cindy had a great time yesterday as well. So yeah, I think your reputation precedes you. So
good. Well, we should be able to deliver some good solid nuggets here today, and some solid action steps, I think, and probably stuff that people haven't seen or really heard before as well. So stuff that typically you won't find online or won't see content about online as well. So I won't say they're secrets, but they're kind of the secret sauce, or kind of things that are kind of obvious and right there, but for whatever reason they're overlooked, or people just don't notice them, or they're just not in the mainstream SEO kind of sphere. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's jump into it.
Okay, cool. So let's just see, my mouse working. Okay, so just some of my background. So we covered this yesterday, but for people who went on yesterday, so I started in business in the early 2000s, or 99, and I owned a mid-size IT company, so I have a very technical background, so I know a lot about tech stuff, but we also had an online store that was kind of part of that business, so we acquired it, and it was doing 100K turnover when we acquired it, and within 2 years, in the first year, we grew it to doing $1 million in revenue, then the second year was $6.5 million in revenue, and in 2008, or around about 2008, and we grew that via SEO. I didn't really know what SEO was at the time. I knew if I changed, I didn't even know the word SEO, but I knew if I changed things on the website, the rankings would move up and down. I didn't realize it was called SEO, not until later. And then through social media as well. There was no real Facebook back then, but through forum marketing and things like that. So in about 2008, I started a local search agency selling SEO services. So that's kind of branched out now, and we do a bunch of different services for local businesses, primarily in Australia.
Can you tell us about the store? I'm just curious. Was it like a drop shipping situation, or what kind of store was it?
No, it was a real store. So it was early 2000s, when it was at a time where people were still afraid of putting their credit cards into a computer.
Okay.
And PayPal was still very new, and people would be fearful of buying stuff from overseas. So Amazon was still brand new, and I think it was really just about books. So we basically we were selling computer parts and performance computer parts. So we would import product that was readily available, but no one was really selling it over in Australia, but people wanted it in Australia. You could easily buy it from the US and have it shipped, but it just the way the market was at the time, people weren't comfortable doing that. There just wasn't a lot of trust in the online space. There was still a lot of like credit card fraud's going to get you kind of thing. So it was a lot of doing that, like importing particular product lines. And there was some drop shipping, but it wasn't like today. Drop shipping is like an entire business model, but back then it was just part of the business. Like it just made sense if you were shipping something very physically large or heavy, it would make sense that you would ship it from the distributor's warehouse so we were based in the west coast of Australia in Perth. So if someone in Sydney ordered something huge, it just would make sense to drop ship it from the supplier. It's cheaper for shipping, it's faster. So drop shipping was a part of the business where I wouldn't call it a drop shipping business model. So it was pretty standard practice at the time. And also things like software, like we sold software licenses. So there's a billion different variations of Microsoft software licenses and Adobe software licenses and things like that. So you wouldn't keep 1,000 product lines in stock. You would, drop ship it effectively or buy it from the vendor once the customer placed the order. So the world's different today. Back then it was basically software was a physical product. Today it's, SaaS and people buy it online, but it's, that type of business doesn't really exist in today's world. So, yeah.
Cool.
So I've been in the SEO space for 15 odd years now. So right now our agency actively manages about 200 sites, 250 sites for clients through our agency. So we have a lot of experience doing this stuff, both, on an ongoing basis and a lot of history. So we kind of have a good feel for what works and what generates results. And particularly for the local SEO space, we are working with often very small budgets or constricted budgets and resources have to generate results very quickly. So, and with a customer that doesn't necessarily understand that SEO can take time or some of these things can take time. So a lot of these tactics we've kind of created out of this kind of constraint of not having a lot of resources or time or money to put into SEO for these sites, but still get results. So
awesome. And I just want to add, I was unable to live stream to Facebook, so we're live streaming to YouTube as well. So if you're watching this live on YouTube, welcome. This is a live training with Brendan Tully about SEO for course creators. Cindy, I see you've got your hand up. We're going to get to questions in a little bit. But keep the questions coming. And if you're watching on YouTube, welcome. We're going to be diving into SEO with Brendan.
Cool. So basically 2 goals for this session. So we're going to go, I think we have 40 odd slides or so. So we'll probably go for around 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and then we can do the Q&A at the end. And we can stop if there's questions along the way. We can stop and dig into something. And like I said, it's probably wise to take notes because we'll kind of dig into things that aren't necessarily in the slides, and we will have the slides available at the end. But basically 2 goals for you today. So one is to show you a new way of looking at SEO, or really how SEO works today in 2018. It's very different from the traditional approach. And in doing that, showing you our approach or the way we look at SEO, hopefully that'll enable you to kind of come up with your own tactics and your own strategy without having to, basically build your tactics based on the fundamentals. So I also have some tactics that work, that they're DIY, they're not spammy or black hat or kind of dodgy SEO tactics that they'll no doubt at least 1 or 2 of them are going to move the needle in some way for you. And there'll be things that you won't find from the kind of typical SEO blogs. So bottom line, so delivering a lot of value, and don't sweat, there's a lot of stuff here. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Some of this stuff, particularly the bigger your site, the more work it's going to be. So some of this stuff could easily be a 6 or 12 month project. So keep that in mind as you're going through. Like, don't feel that you necessarily have to get this done this week. So, SEO is a long-term play. So just keep that in mind as we're going through. So this is kind of how we look at SEO. So we think about it in terms of frameworks. And there's really 3 layers to that we can, there's three lenses we can view SEO through. So the principles, the fundamentals, and foundational components, which are effectively the rules of the game, which don't really change over time. And they are really where the power is. So I prefer in workshops and training to focus on some of the fundamental stuff and teach those, and that'll enable you to come up with your own strategy based on that and come up with the tactics. The tactics are going to change over time. So I do have some tactics for you, but they're tied to those foundational components or those rules of the game. So keep that in mind, that the tactics are going to change over time, but the kind of rules of the game don't really change. And then in the middle, like when we think about SEO, we always think about it it's not a forever process. Think about it as more of a campaign. You have a 3 or 6 month SEO campaign. We have these goals in mind. This is our strategy, and this is why we want these goals, or this is the business strategy that's tied to these goals, and these are the tactics or the implementation that we're doing to achieve those goals, and this is our time frame. So think about it like that, as opposed to a forever ongoing drawn out process. Think about it. So when we work with clients, we think about it in more of a campaign kind of structure. We'll talk to them about their business goals. Here's the strategy that we're going to implement that should achieve those goals. Here's the things we need to do. It's going to be 3 months worth of work or 6 months worth of work. We'll do it, review the results, and then circle back around and reassess from there. So that's how we like to work with clients. And it's a lot more powerful than just random tactics that, you probably don't need any more things on your to-do list, basically. So so as we go through, think about, I'd prefer you focus on the rules as opposed to the tactics that are definitely going to change as time rolls on. Okay, so where we're at with traffic and search today. So paid traffic is getting more expensive from both Google and Facebook. Attention is generally getting more expensive, and that attention is fragmented. Google is actually getting better at weeding out a lot of the garbage. So classic SEO was very much about finding gaps in the algorithm and exploiting that. And Google's done a pretty good job. They're not perfect, but they've done a good job of weeding out a lot of the crap. So today they're much better at rewarding real businesses who are doing SEO right, according to their rules. But we're moving to a model where SEO is more about the value and engagement over the old style. Find a way to exploit Google, and we'll run that gap or exploit until the algorithm changes and they close that hole. So it's much more about value and engagement, and it's much more about they're trying to match what the search intent is. So they're trying to work out what the intent is behind a particular search term and show customers or visitors or whatever searchers the result that best matches that intent. So the game is always changing, but that's where Google is going. And in some ways that's good, because, these gaps are, they're, I guess, exploited in questionable ways a lot of the time. And, it has good and bad elements to it, but overall it's probably a good thing, because if you're running a legit business, then you probably want to do things that are sustainable long-term, as opposed to short-term they'd be called black hat tactics, but, things that are going to work in the short term, but probably hurt the business longer term. The other thing is consumers are getting more tech savvy. So spend is increasingly moving online. People are getting more and more used to using technology. And we kind of talked about this yesterday, that we're all I guess most of the people on this webinar are probably spent a lot of time online. So very versed with buying online and doing things online and teaching courses online. But the typical, the mainstream market is still not in that mindset, that they're very much still, people still go and pay their bills at the post office or whatever in Australia. So there's still a huge chunk of people that have yet to kind of move their life more online and leverage technology. So, in other words, that the total addressable market is probably increasing, and the amount of searches, the volume of searches is probably increasing. So overall, what that means, so things that paid traffic is getting more expensive, so advertising is getting more expensive. Dodgy SEO is not really working as well anymore, and it's more about long-term, legit businesses, and then the market is growing. So more broadly, SEO is getting more powerful. The benefit of of SEO traffic is probably increasing for most markets. And if you have a long-term focus in business, you're probably going to win in the long term if you have an SEO strategy or a good SEO strategy. So that's where different people are going to have different opinions, but from where we sit working with clients and our own sites as well, that's how we see kind of 2018 where the market is. So this is the traditional SEO approach was very much keywords, keyword research, backlinks, and on-page SEO. So, it was various proportions of this, but, it was, at least 50% backlinks. When people talk about SEO, they were like talking about links, and there was some talk of keywords and there was some on-page SEO. That's kind of how it has been looked at for the last 5 or 10 years. Today, SEO is quite different. It's much more holistic. Customers are a lot more intelligent. You basically can't trick people into sales and clicking on things like you would have been able to in the past. So SEO is much more holistic, and there's less, like I just said, that it's less about finding gaps in the algorithm. It's more about, integrating SEO into the business and being, doing things long-term, legit, sustainable. So we break it down and we look at it as basically 4 pieces. So backlinks has become backlinks, online activity, and brand. So those components are very important. So online activity can be, reviews, social shares, social activity, people talking about your brand and products online. So it encompasses a whole range of things. It's general activity about your products, your brand, what you're doing. Conversion and sales is becoming an important part of SEO, and it's kind of a feedback loop, and particularly the user engagement as well. Again, if you're selling more, the business is growing, people are talking about you online, that's going to feed back in, and it's going to help grow the business. You'll get more links. So it's kind of a feedback loop there that feeds back on itself. And Google wants to serve up results that are best for the visitor. So it's important that, from their perspective, they're trying to work out how engaged visitors are with your content. Typically speaking, if they're more engaged with your content, it might not necessarily be a kind of linear one-to-one relationship that people are more engaged, therefore you rank higher, but that feeds back into rankings and search traffic. Keywords has really turned into keywords and their intent, and then how that ties into the content on your website, the products and services you're selling, and the funnels around that. Now, to me, funnels has become this weird thing online. People talking about funnels a lot, but it's really, to me, a funnel is just a systemized way of achieving an outcome. So in terms of selling stuff online, the funnel is, what is the process that you want the visitor or the customer to walk through in order to buy your product and have that product be of benefit to them and improve their lives. And then on-page SEO is really, it's about the technology you're using, the systems, the software. Still about on-page SEO, but then there's also general SEO best practices. So, best practices that are going to work regardless of what business you're in. And one of those might be, or a couple of those are, ranking #1 for your brand name is really important. Getting reviews online that show in the SERPs, and having a good quality Google Maps listing. So those would be what I'd call SEO best practices. So everything we do and the things I'm going to talk about are really focused around this model of SEO. And I think it's much more sustainable and long-term. It really, if you use this type of model and thinking, it really will build a moat around the business, and you'll get that organic traffic long-term and those campaigns. I mean, SEO isn't free. So there is time, effort, and energy and cost that goes into SEO campaigns. So we want the long-term return on that. And this is the model that we use with the goal of getting long-term returns. Okay, so going to jump into, I think we've got 6 or 7 points here. So these are kind of the action steps that are intertwined with those fundamentals. So, let's talk about the first one, is owning the search engine results for your brand search terms. So when someone searches your business name or your product names or anything related to your brand, these are generally the most powerful and highest converting search terms. Unfortunately, they're pretty much ignored from an SEO perspective, and by business owners. Generally, business owners aren't Googling their business name or looking at their product names. So they don't really know what the SERP looks like. They don't have a good grasp of what the results look like for their business name searches, which means, we see this all the time. We get a client and just Google their name and there's a single bad review on some obscure site that is ranking on the first page of results that looks really bad and it stands out, and the client hasn't done anything to get positive reviews, or they don't have a review strategy in place. So there's very few other reviews online, so that single bad review makes them look really bad. It's also important to own the SERP, so you protect yourself against not only just bad reviews, but things like brand jacking, competitors and affiliates claiming the SERP for your business name, and I'll give you an example in a second. And then Google values brand. So Google is really all about brand and brand names and brand mentions. So it's important that you're considering what that SERP looks like and what is in the search results for your brand, because Google thinks it's important. So, and then the last point is just watch for AdWords. One AdWords strategy is to run ads on competitors running ads against your brand name. Maybe not in the core space so much, but definitely in more of the local SEO space, or where whatever you're selling is a bit more bottom of funnel, where there's a kind of people click on an ad and then they're very close to buying. So I'll just jump out of this and we'll just do this example here of what the SERP looks like. I'm putting on the spot here, Chris.
Okay.
So
I was already writing down some questions about brand jacking.
cool. So we used this example yesterday. This was one of our example sites. Let's just search this as well. So when we talk about affiliates claiming the SERP, I spelled this wrong. Can't type this morning. Okay, so this is the brand results for LifterLMS.
Right.
So we've got a couple of affiliates down here that are showing up in the search results. So this is the kind of thing. Now, it's not extreme in your case, but
they're below the #1 spot, which is good, right?
Which is good, obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of thinking that affiliates are kind of owning. You want to be careful that, especially if you're relying on affiliates a lot for your course program, and that is in the SEO space, in the affiliate marketing SEO space. Brand jacking is a big deal. Like that's a whole business model in itself. So, potentially these could be pushed out with some better targeting or some more content that targets the Lifter business name and Lifter brand searches.
How come? Let me just ask you a question, since you're putting me on the spot. How come? How come? How come some of my most popular videos are not showing up there?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, that's like a YouTube question, I guess. But
yeah, yesterday I searched, and this video here was one of your videos. But today it's all these WP crafters, which is an interesting one. There'd be a couple of broad reasons. He is probably targeting your search terms directly, and you might not have any videos that are directly targeting just the search term for your brand. So that would be one potential issue or cause of that. If you went through the YouTube settings, so there's a whole bunch of settings for the YouTube channel. There might not be some of those settings set in there, or keywords, or it might not be linked to the site properly in some of those deep settings.
Okay.
That would be one. And maybe it's just a case of you don't have a YouTube video that's targeting your brand terms that is, embedded in an important page of the website. So your homepage is using a Wistia video. So potentially
we don't embed YouTube videos on our site as a general rule, because we use the Wistia for that.
Mm-hmm. So potentially that could be the cause there, that there's just not really that much pushing back to your YouTube channel. So
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if we compare to this one, so this was one of our example cases. How do we pronounce it? Atelier Rasar? Is that?
He came in on the Facebook comments. I'm not sure if he's here right now. I don't know if he is. He might be in a different time zone where it's difficult, but he was really appreciative of what you said, and he had a bunch more comments and stuff.
Okay, cool. But I mean, if we look at his brand search, so he owns the videos for his, so it's quite a bit different. So
yeah.
So, and
he's got his Wikipedia, like everything is him on page 1, basically, right?
Mostly, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, is it bad for your affiliates to be on page 1 with you?
Well, I mean, how much is it really depends on, I guess, on your business and how that impacts the business. Some businesses, it's going to be really important to own the SERP. Others, it's not really going to be that much of a big deal. But I guess the broad point is to be aware of it, because it is going to be one of your most search terms. And it is the highest converting as well.
And let me just ask while we're here, like, it's one thing, like the brand name for us, like one of our keyword phrases is WordPress LMS.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like different than our brand name. That's more like our category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, every business is different. So this is going to, I mean, all these things are, there's so many things you can do. So they all, you know, there's always limited, there's some sort of constraints, so we're limited in time or resources or whatever it is. So it's important that everything isn't given equal priority. I mean, you need to be aware of some of these things, but some are going to be, for some businesses, this is going to be extremely important. For others, it's not really going to be important at all. But I guess broadly, it's important to be aware of it and just at least search a business name now and again to make sure that there isn't a result in there that's saying bad things, or there's, you know, if there was a result in here that had
Like
a 1
number
star
2 is a
rating.
negative review or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So
what is that you have on the right side of your screen?
So this is a keyword tool called Keywords Everywhere. So
Okay.
this basically dumps out a result for, you know, related search terms related to whatever I've searched here. So this is actually a really good SEO tool as well. So it gives you kind of a broad idea of, you know, the topically related search terms. We use this quite a bit. So you can see here some of the related keywords to this Lifter search. People looking for a demo, Lifter versus LearnDash, reviews about the API, that sort of thing. So yeah.
Cool.
Alrighty, so I think that was everything. Let's just switch back here. All right, so that was everything I guess related to that brand SERP. It's, you know, be aware of it. Make sure you check in on it now and again, and make sure that you own as much of that SERP as you can. So that's that one. Okay, so simple ways to do that. So some simple stuff. Claiming maps listings. So that's a really powerful way of owning the search results, is claiming the maps listings and being as close to a real business as possible. Even if you know, online course isn't really a bricks and mortar business, but it can still have a physical address and a phone number. And that can be still quite powerful in terms of owning the SERP and having control over it. Particularly if you've got a review funnel in place. So it's a really good way to leverage reviews. I'll show you this didgeridoo breath example of what I mean. So, when we have the maps listing, we, you know, once the brand gets enough searches, the maps listing will start to appear, and it kind of dominates the SERP for those brand searches. So if we have a review funnel in place and we're getting reviews basically on autopilot, then we'll get nice things like here on the Facebook page, we have 380 reviews, and here we have 30 reviews on the maps listing. So that's one way to kind of shortcut owning the SERP. That is, you know, it's not that much work to do. And once it's set up and done, it's a one and done thing. It doesn't require ongoing resources. So if you do that on Google, Apple Maps, and Bing Maps, they're really powerful backlinks as well. But you know, you'll get this sort of control over the search results as well. So so that's an important one. So a review funnel. So a review funnel is basically an automated way to get reviews. So once someone buys your product, asking them for their feedback and asking them for a review is a really easy way to kind of build up reviews. You saw there was 380 reviews there. So with that example, it's an online store. When someone buys a product, 14 days later, they get an email asking them if the product has actually arrived. You know, has the product arrived? What did you think? Would love some feedback. Hit reply, and would really love it if you put a review on our site. Here's a link. So that's generally how to do a review funnel, and particularly for a course website or, you know, that sort of website, getting that customer feedback at the 10 or 14 day mark and asking them how they're going. You know, did they learn anything? Did they get some value? Are they stuck on anything? That's a good way to get feedback on improving the course, but it's a good opportunity to ask them for a review as well. And it can be done in a couple of steps. That, you know, you can wait for them to give you that positive feedback and then go back to them and ask them if they'd be kind enough to put a review on Facebook or wherever it is. Or you can just ask it, you know, if you're a bigger course and you don't have the, you know, you're at a big scale, you know, you can just do that in a single email. But the key is to have some sort of automated way to get those reviews on autopilot, because you're guaranteed at some point you're going to annoy someone, or someone's not going to be happy, or whatever. You know, something doesn't go right, and you're going to get a bad review. So the best way to kind of, bad reviews happen, so the best way to insulate against that is have that review funnel set up and have those good reviews coming in on autopilot. The other way to own the brand SERP is to claim all the key social properties, set them up properly with proper banner images, proper logos, proper blurbs. You can link them together. A lot of social properties link together. So you can link Twitter. If you're not active on Twitter, you can link your Twitter to your Facebook page. So anything you put on Facebook, auto tweets. So that's an easy way to kind of, keep it one touch, or use a tool like Hootsuite. So you're putting out content in one place and it pushes to everything else. But claiming all those social properties is an easy way to fill up that brand SERP. So Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud. If you're doing audio stuff, there's, depending on what market you're in, there's going to be different properties, but those are really easy ways to claim that brand SERP. And then also those properties have very powerful backlinks. So they're free backlinks. They're very powerful, and they can just generally help push the site up the search results pages without that much work. And again, it's a pretty simple process. There's no rocket science involved. It's go and claim those properties, set them up, link them together as appropriate, or link them to a social media kind of publishing tool, and you're done. Right, so what else do we have? Okay, so that's that. Let's talk about keywords. So we have something called keyword content matching. So we talk to clients about this. So broadly, the rules are that for every search term you want to rank for, you ideally need a matching piece of content on the website. So basically you can't rank for something if you don't have a page to match it. I mean, it's a very simple logic, but it's very often missed by people. They want to rank for these terms. There's no content about that. And on the flip side of that, you can only have one piece of content for that term. So you can't, if you have multiple pieces of content targeting a search term, that can often lead to something called keyword cannibalization. So it effectively confuses Google. It doesn't know which page is the most relevant for that search term. So neither of them rank very well. And broadly, the homepage doesn't count when we're talking about this stuff. So you need a page separate to your homepage that's targeting whatever terms you want to target. So that leads us to the questions: what terms do you want to target? Do you have a list of search terms that are in a spreadsheet somewhere that you're actively targeting, and you have a strategy to rank for? And it's also important to understand where those terms sit in the funnel. If we talk about the classic marketing funnel, so the attention, interest, desire or demand, and then action, keywords are going to sit at different layers of the funnel, and they're going to have different value, and you're going to need a strategy to leverage those keywords appropriately. So the people at the bottom of the funnel are much closer to buying. They're one or two steps away from hitting the buy button. Whereas the people at the top of the funnel, they might be in the research stage. They might not even know they have a problem, or there is a solution to the problem. So those keywords or search terms have different intent. So we need to be just mindful of matching that intent well with the content, and just understanding that people at the top of the funnel aren't going to hit the website and buy straight away. They need to be nurtured, and it's going to be a bit of a process to get them along the path until they hit the buy button. So let's talk about keyword research and how do we build that keyword list. So like we just talked about, the number one set of keywords should be related to your brand name. So they're the easiest to rank for, they're the highest value. So you should have a list of brand name terms and product terms if you're selling, if your products have separate names to your brands. And you'll probably find, like in that example for Lifter, there was people searching for Lifter API. So they're looking for information on the API. So potentially, those are people who already have the product, or they're interested in the product and want to know what the API can do. So having a page of content talking to that kind of serves that search term. So there's a few different ways to build out that list of brand terms. Google Search Console is probably the best source, and it's free. So there's a whole bunch of keywords in there, and it'll tell you what's happening in the search results and what people are searching for. But brand terms is one list. Being clear on what products and services you sell. So one exercise we have clients go through is just list out all the products you sell. And then is there a page on the website for each of those, a separate page? And if there's not a page for that, creating those pages. So that's an easy way to get more traffic, because right now, if there's no page for it, we can't rank for it. Therefore, adding the page, we start to rank for it. We start to get more traffic. Being clear on what problems your products and services, that says sell, but what that means is solve. I should say solve. So for example, we talked about speed yesterday. So our business WP Speed Fix deals in WordPress speed and website optimization. So we have a blog article on how to fix slow WordPress, and we rank #1 in the world for that. So that's the problem that our product or services solve. So we rank for that particular problem. It's very simple, but it's often one that people miss. They don't have this. They might have this list in their head, but it's not written down, or it's not in a spreadsheet, and there's no strategy to rank for those particular problems that people are searching for solutions for. Common ones that are often missed is, the things the customer needs to know before buying. So if it's a more expensive product, or it's a complex product, or they're going to have a lot of questions before they buy, having content that answers those questions are really important, because they're going to be searching for those. And it also, it potentially will reduce the amount of work that your support team has to do. So you kind of get a double win there. So there's content on the website to answer that. So then you hit up your support team or send an email. They can get those answers themselves. Look at what questions they're asking on a regular basis. We often go through customer live chat logs and look at the things customers are asking. Like if they're asking about shipping all the time, or payment methods or something like that, that is content that needs to be on the site. That is things that they're searching for. They're searching for answers to those questions. They might be asking about guarantees. How long does the course take to do, how much time they need, those sort of things. So all those are questions they have that they'll be searching for answers for. So we ideally want to be clear on what those questions are, and having content to match those questions appropriately. So having them in a spreadsheet is really important, and then using the tools to kind of pull the data out and matching up the data and what's actually happening in the search engine with what we want to do or what we want to target. So the tools we use Google Search Console, we use Google AdWords. So if you've been running search campaigns for a while, there'll be a lot of data inside AdWords on keywords and what people are searching. That Keywords Everywhere tool that Chris just asked about, that's a powerful one. And then also Ahrefs is a very powerful SEO tool. There's a lot of keyword data in there. You can look at competitors. You can do a lot of analysis in there. If you're looking for something more advanced, like a really advanced strategy on keyword research, there is a link to a recent blog article there from an agency called From the Future that really digs into using this data, really like at an enterprise level. So they talk about how they use the Search Console data, Ahrefs, and AdWords data in much more detail. So if you have a look at that blog article, it'll walk you through the process. But broadly, having a spreadsheet, tracking this stuff, being clear on your keywords, being clear on what content matches that keyword. So we want that keyword content matching. And if there isn't any content for that keyword, then simply creating that content means you're probably going to get traffic for it, and you start ranking for that search term. Alrighty. Okay, so one other thing here, and one easy way to leverage content you have already is to repurpose your paid content. So we actually discovered this by accident on one business I'm involved with is Didgeridoo Dojo. So it's a membership site or a course site teaching people how to play the didgeridoo. We built this site a long time ago, and one mistake we made when building it that turned out to be, we ended up turning that around and making an advantage, was we actually built one single site. So that the sales site and the membership site were in one. If we were doing it again, we'd probably split them out and have them two separate sites. So we'd have the sales and marketing site, and then the membership site is a separate site. But to rework the site is a major, would be a major deal to do, because we have somewhere around 200 lessons, 200 videos now. So that's a massive project. So what we ended up doing, so we had a problem with the software we were using for the membership digital access pass was creating some SEO problems. So we basically had all these pages that just had error messages that you can't access this content because you're not logged in. So what we actually did was create short preview versions of that content. So if people weren't logged in, and instead of just getting an error message that they can't access the content, they got these short videos that were a demonstration of the particular technique, and then with some details to sign up. So I'm just going to click across. And this has worked really well. So again, leveraging that kind of idea that you can't rank for a search term if you don't have a piece of content for it. So just open it in another window. So this was a way we leveraged this technique. So what ended up happening is we have 180, 190 odd pages now with this preview content for all these different weird and wonderful didgeridoo techniques that is basically based on the content that we'd already created. So we just had a short version of the video, and we still have the lesson notes available if you scroll down, I think. So they talk about the lesson, what the lesson's about, the lesson details. So what ended up happening is, because we created short versions of the content that, they just demonstrate what the technique is rather than teaching it. We managed to rank for all these terms. Now we get thousands of visits a month based on this strategy, because there's so many different weird and wonderful terms and techniques and long tail kind of search terms that people are looking for when they want to play the didgeridoo. The other thing we did was gave away half the lessons for free. So that also, in some cases, that also allowed us to rank for particular search terms. So this is a technique. Circular breathing is a technique that you need to be able to do to be able to play the didgeridoo at all. So there's a ton of searches around didgeridoo circular breathing, but we didn't want to give all the lessons away for free. So what we did was give the first half of the lessons away, which allowed us to rank for the search term. We get a lot of links because people link to it. Particularly on YouTube, we get a lot of plays, hundreds of thousands of plays, but they still, to get the full value of the lessons, they still need to sign up. So again, that's kind of leveraging that, repurposing the paid content, and kind of using that rule that we need a piece of content to rank for a particular search term. It's a really easy way to do it. It wasn't like a massive ordeal to repurpose the videos and make them shorter or edit them. So that's a pretty simple technique. And I have some friends and some clients who've used that technique as well. And it's an awesome way to kind of increase conversions, rank for all those different search terms without having to do a whole bunch of extra work. Alrighty. Okay, so that's that. How are we going, Chris?
Doing awesome, man. Yeah, I'm taking notes. I got a lot of questions for you when we get to the end.
Cool. Do you want to do some questions before we keep rolling?
Well, I just wanted to ask you why you said if you could do it again, you would have the marketing site and the LMS site be different. I see some people do that. I see some people not do that. Like, what's your thinking around that?
There's a couple of reasons. One is, so we built the site in 2010 to 2011, and it's built on a really, really old theme that so it wasn't mobile, it wasn't smartphone compatible. So we had to get the theme. We were using optimized press 1. So we had to actually get custom development done to make it mobile compatible. It just gave us this constraint that we couldn't do a lot of things from a marketing perspective, like
modern marketing. But
yeah,
the course doesn't necessarily need to change. You just want to do modern marketing. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean the videos of the course, we're slowly rolling through and reshooting them because the quality is just not, today you have 4K video, the quality just isn't there because it was shot like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really, we lost a lot of flexibility with the site. It's a very complicated site because it has all these different plugins now to drive the site, and it's got the membership software, and we actually got the membership software isn't great. It's not LifterLMS. Just be clear on that. But the site got hacked a few months ago because we hadn't updated the membership software, because every time we updated it, it broke things, and it's so much extra complexity when we have it all rolled into one. Whereas if we had them as two separate sites, we could upgrade the marketing, the course structure to be on a better theme as well. Like the theme we've kind of edited it to make it more friendly for learning, but it's still not a great kind of LMS environment, I guess. So we just don't have a lot of flexibility because it's all in one website. And with 180, 190, 200 lessons, like it's a huge deal to change it and make it different. Like it's, a 3 or 6 month project to do it. So we've been talking about it, but it's, it works now. And like, we're kind of like, yeah, well, we can, milk this for a few more years. We need to reshoot the videos anyway. So we probably should reshoot them first and then come back to the website. But at some point we're going to have to rebuild it because it's so cumbersome and clunky and complex just because it's all rolled into one.
I think that's a really good point, because you're not always trying to improve the marketing and then like the teaching at the same time. Those are like completely separate projects, really,
Yeah.
that don't
And
always
the
go well
website,
together. So
they have two, the purpose of the site is, there are two different purposes. One is to sell the course and market the course, and then the other is to deliver it. And
yeah.
just they're two different environments. They're two different sets of people hitting the site. So there's other kind of marketing things. We're not clear. Like we get to 200 to 300 uniques a day on the site. So are they like existing customers? Are they new customers? Like it's just that everything is more complicated and blurred because they're all kind of rolled into one. So.
Yeah, and just to answer some questions coming in to Darren and Kristen. Yeah, with Lifter, you can have it all on one site, or you can, it's very common for some people to have a separate marketing site. And you can either sell from the marketing site, or you can do the whole marketing funnel thing and then link into the checkout flow for the final step on the LMS website. So Lifter is really flexible. You can keep them separate. You can have it all on one. And like where you do the handoff from one to the other can be different depending upon your goals. So Lifter's flexible in that way. And there's a cool tool also called WP Fusion, where you can sell with whatever you want. And as long as you're getting data into a CRM of some kind, if you apply a tag or whatever, WP Fusion can then enroll that person in a course or a membership on a LifterLMS site anywhere on the internet. So whatever scheme you can come up with or structure, I should say, is possible.
Cool. Should we continue?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Okay, let's talk about this one, click-through rate optimization, CTR optimization. So this is like something we're super fanatical about and doesn't really get any attention outside of AdWords. So in the AdWords space, you'll see that like a big part of AdWords for search is all about improving click-through rate, and even simple changes like swapping the top and bottom lines of a search ad can double the click-through rate. So that's 100% improvement. Same ad copy, it's just you change the order. And simple things like capitalizing the start of words also increases the click-through rate. But nobody talks about this in the SEO space. There's this assumption in SEO world that if I'm number one, I get all the traffic, which is not true, because you need the traffic, you need rankings and the click to get the traffic. It's the same with social. So there's this expectation that if I share something on the socials or it goes viral, I'll get all this traffic, but you actually need to get the shares and the click. So we look at click-through rate as quite important, particularly in search results. And in some ways it's getting harder because number one in Google is often it's often below the fold. You've got 4 ads at the top, and sometimes you're going to have maps listings, or you're going to have the knowledge pane on the side. So there's a lot of distractions from number one. So number one today isn't the same as number one 5 years ago. So we think click-through rate is an important part of getting organic traffic, and it seems to be a part of the algorithm as well. The more clicks that your listing and the search results get, the higher it gets over time, and it's something we've used and tested with our local SEO clients and seen big results from. So let me explain what I mean here. I've got a couple of examples. So if we talk about, so this is an old example that I just had the slides for, but this is Natural Stacks. They sell supplements. So this is the page for their vitamin D3 products. So they actually didn't have any meta description set at all in this case. So this meta description here, so just to be clear, the meta description is what appears, the blurb at the bottom there that appears when someone searches something. So this meta description is just pulling from the page content. So it's not really enticing. They have this special vitamin D that has coconut oil in it that helps absorption. It doesn't tell me anything about that. And it really is just telling me what vitamin D is. And if I'm searching for vitamin D3 supplements, I actually know what they are and I'm looking for a product. So telling me what it is doesn't really match my intent. So it's kind of a nothing search result, and it's probably not going to get that many clicks. If we rewrote that with click-through rate in mind and actually getting the click, it'd look something more like this. So we've gone from something that's basically nothing. It's just a generic blurb about vitamin D that's probably taken off Wikipedia, or they've just rewritten content that's around about vitamin D, something that's much more salesy. So premium high potency vitamin D3 with cold pressed organic coconut oil for rapid absorption, buy online with fast and short worldwide shipping. So it's a lot more on point. It's a lot more salesy, and it's a lot more likely to get the click. And it would be something that we'd write if we were writing an AdWords ad for this product. We would use something along those lines. So a lot of people just, meta descriptions get no, they're almost an afterthought. You know, you'll see around people in the SEO space will say they just don't matter. They don't help rankings directly. So they don't really affect what search terms, they don't affect what search terms you appear for. But because they impact the click-through rate, they are important because the click-through rate's important.
So what you're saying is you should write them like you're paying for it.
Exactly. And spend some time, particularly on the important pages, spend some time thinking about it, refining it. You know, your homepage and maybe the top 5 or 10 pages on your website are really important. And that's where you're going to get the most leverage. So particularly the homepage, spend some time, rewrite it, you know, play around with it, but think about it as a piece of sales copy. And you're right. You know, think about it as if you're paying for those clicks on it.
That's one of the things I learned from you in your course. And I went and I found like all my top pages and I was like, all right, I need to actually spend time on this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot of the time it's an afterthought, and it's probably not as relevant for most courses, but again, adding the phone number in the search result, both in the title tag and the meta description. This is a local site example, but this can also be a powerful way to build trust, particularly online. Like people don't necessarily have to call the phone number to have some benefit there. So that's another way we can get clicks or calls or more trust in the search results, is leveraging phone number. So there's probably not a huge amount of course creators that's relevant for, but that's just another example that anything we can do to stand out that is, you know, adds value to the customer or has some power there is going to help us with click-through rate. So, you know, I've got some simple kind of rules for writing the meta description. So this is the Lifter example that I've taken. This is the search result yesterday, and I've just rewritten it basically.
This is after I already rewrote it after watching your course, by the way. So I'm happy to get better.
There's some simple rules in here that you know, that we follow. I think the next slide has the rules. Yeah, we do. Okay, so the rules here. I'll go forward. So the rules are pretty simple. So the meta descriptions matter. So spend some time thinking about them. Look at what competitors are doing. That's one sneaky thing we do, is look at competitors and basically outsell them in the copy. If you're in the position 2 or 3, but you've got better copy than position 1, you know, you're probably going to get as many clicks, if not more clicks, than they do. I think there's, you know, consumers are smart. People look at the search results and they'll click the top 3 or 4 listings. They don't necessarily always click number 1 like they used to. One of the other rules, capitalize the start of the important words. So in my rewrite here, you'll notice that the start of each word is a capital, which can make a huge difference. We know from AdWords that actually makes quite a difference to click-through rate. Use all caps where we can. So we can't actually do this in AdWords because it works really well. So for anything that is like a power word, we want to make it all caps because that'll make it stand out. So potentially, so in my rewrite here, I've made the as the all caps, but maybe I'd rewrite that to the number 1 and have, you know, 1 in all caps or something like that. But it just helps it stand out, and it does make a difference. And, you know, we can't use it in AdWords because it is such a powerful way to attract attention. What else do we have? Yeah, so really power words is a big one, and just being salesy. So, you know, matching what the intent is. If we're ranking for a particular search term, so in this case, your homepage is targeted at best LMS plugin. So, you know, we really want to push that. And then, you know, you've got the demo is wanting a call to action. So, you know,
so you put the call to action in there. That's awesome. Yeah.
Potentially. Yeah. But you want to play with this. Like this was just like me 2 minutes of playing around, you know, grabbing some of the things off your homepage, some of the kind of call outs of the you know, the headings of the homepage, but you know your customers pretty well, so you know why you probably have a good idea why they buy. And if you don't, looking at reviews is a good way to kind of get what they really like about the product, and then adding that into the meta description. I mean, bottom line is it's a piece of sales copy. So focusing on it and, you know, just leveraging those rules. You know, it's not a huge amount of work. You could sit there for 20 minutes, half an hour and play with it, and you're kind of done. But in some cases it can double or triple traffic, and it's free. It doesn't require any more links. It's another kind of one and done thing. And if you have a lot of pages on your site, just take start with the top 10 or 20 pages and do those, and then sit back and see what the result is. So
And you may be covering this, but just for anybody watching who's kind of new to SEO, this is like a setting in the WordPress SEO plugin by Yoast. Like this is the main, you know, meta description for the site or for the homepage.
And also, so at the end, I've got some links. So you can also template this across the site. So with the Yoast plugin, you can actually set the meta. So Yoast is really good in that you can set templates for these things. So, and the template it'll show the templated meta description if you haven't set a custom meta description on a particular page. So if you set a custom meta description, that custom meta description will show. If you haven't set anything, it will show what you've used as the template. So if you have a huge site with 50 or 100 or several hundred pages, using that template is a really quick and easy way to kind of leverage this. You know, spend a half an hour, write a really good meta description, add that to the template. And if you don't have a meta description across a lot of pages, then that'll show on those pages and you're kind of getting a lot of leverage out of that, you know, 30 minutes, 60 minutes worth of work. And I do have a link. There's a 10-minute video I've linked to. So at the end, we have a link to a page with links. And on that page, there is a 7 to 10-minute video that walks you through this in a little bit more detail and highlights where you can edit this and set the template inside the Yoast plugin. So if you want to dig deeper on that, then yeah, grab that link at the end.
And just by the way, if you're here, we are doing a little LifterLMS giveaway at the end too. So stick around for that as well.
Cool. Now the other one, so that's meta descriptions and that's search. The other important one is what you look like in the socials and on Facebook when your stuff is shared or liked or whatever. So I've got some examples here. So this link here is long. We'll have the slides so you get the link, but this is a link from Facebook that will show you what a page looks like when it's shared in the search results. So if we click that over, I'm just going to load that up. Now, I'll stick Lifter in because Lifter, you have a custom open graph image for the Lifter homepage. So I'm going to scroll down. So this tool will show you what the pages look like when they're searching the social. So they're effectively, you know, a Facebook ad in a sense. So Chris has a custom image for Lifter, so it looks really good. You know, it's really clear what Lifter is about when it's shared. If we look at some of these other examples, yeah. Sorry, I've lost my window. Oops, where am I here? Just grab these links. Here's an example of one that this one's okay, but it could be better. So this one's all right. Like it has a custom open graph image set, but it's not really clear what the website is about. It doesn't really tell us much. So potentially this could be, you know, have a better blurb or be a better image. And let me look at this one. So this was another example we had. So this one doesn't have any open graph stuff set. So when this one is shared on the socials or anywhere else, so on Slack, on Messenger, on iMessage, anywhere that the page is shared, you'll see this one doesn't have any open graph stuff. So Facebook will try, or whatever the tool is, will try and grab an image from the site, but quite often it won't be able to get one. So you can see here that this one's having a problem. So, you know, a simple step here would be to go and set the open graph image and settings for the homepage. And again, we can template that across the site. So that same video will have an explanation of how you can template that in the Yoast SEO plugin. So you create one image and it has it across all pages automatically. And then if you set a custom image on each page, then that image will show instead. But yeah, so particularly, I mean, this website has 176 likes. So, you know, it's not a huge amount of likes and shares, but still, you know, nothing appears when it is shared in the socials. So there's some opportunity there, particularly important if you are doing a lot of stuff on Facebook, particularly if you're doing Facebook ads, that becomes even more important because people are on Facebook looking at the site, sharing the site and whatever. So again, it's a simple thing to do and has a lot of leverage long-term. You do it once and it's done and it just kind of works forever. And again, it's, you know, it's about increasing the click-through rate. You're getting more traffic without doing anything else really. So a simple step. Okay, so we talked about that. So the custom open graph image, and then anything that's a high impact page. So if you have a particular sales page, or you're doing a launch, or you're doing a promo, making sure that the open graph image is set for that page. You've really, you know, you've created something that actually makes sense. It's effectively a Facebook ad. And, you know, if it's a really important page and you're doing a lot of Facebook stuff, setting, so you can set the text that appears in Facebook as well, separate to the meta description. So by default, it'll pull the title and meta description, but you can actually set that separately as well for what specifically appears in Facebook. And it's slightly, Facebook's a different environment to search, and the fields are slightly longer to Facebook. So on Facebook, so there's a bit more that can be used there. You can add a bit more text than you could otherwise get away with in search. So particularly important if you're doing a lot of Facebook stuff or social stuff, to be wary of that those open graph fields and those open graph images. Alrighty. Okay, so that was that. All right, how are we going, Chris? How are we going for time?
We're good, man.
Cool.
You take as much time as you need. People are
All right.
digging it. Let us know in the comments if you guys are digging this. I'm like eating this up. I know I'm gonna have to like watch this again and take notes and put an action plan in place, but I'm stoked. Keep it going.
All righty. So let's talk about tracking analytics. So what gets measured gets managed. So if you do want to rank higher and you do want more organic search traffic, you really need to be tracking this stuff. So it's not good enough just to be doing you know, random searches to see where you rank now and again when you're looking at your financials or you think about it. So these are the tools that we use from an SEO perspective. So we use SERPFox for rank tracking. You know, I like it because it's light and it's easy to see the trend, but any good rank tracker will do. So, you know, if you care about organic traffic, tracking the rank is probably a good place to start. We also, for clients and for the work we do, we always track brand terms. So any movement in our brand terms is probably a leading indicator that something's going wrong. So we use SERPFox, but you know, most rank trackers are the same. It's just whatever you're comfortable with. Really, we're big on conversion tracking. So there's two parts to getting organic traffic. One is getting the quantity of traffic, and the other is getting the quality traffic. And you don't really know whether the traffic's quality unless you're tracking the conversions on the other end. So I would take quality traffic every day of the week over quantity traffic. So it's important that you're marrying up the conversions and the sales with where the traffic is coming from. So the tools that we use for that, so if we're doing anything with phone stuff, we use CallRail for call tracking. Again, it's probably not that relevant for membership sites and courses. We use Drift Live Chat as our live chat tool of choice, and we use events. So Drift can push events into Google Analytics, so we can see if someone's had a chat or they've initiated a chat. We use Google Search Console a lot. There's a whole bunch of keyword data in Search Console. It's really powerful stuff. If you haven't checked that out, it's worth poking around in there. And Google have just released their new Search Console, so it's a lot more user-friendly as well. So yeah, and it's free, so it's the right price. So definitely worth checking that out.
Just real quick, how do you describe the difference between Google Analytics and Google Search Console if somebody's like new to it?
I would say analytics is what's happening on the website. Search Console is what is happening in the search results.
Cool.
So, yeah. So, and it is different data, and you can't, 5 years ago, whatever it was, Google turned off the keyword data in Google Analytics, so we can't get that there anymore. But we can get that keyword data in Search Console. So it's still there and still available. It's in a slightly different format, and it's slightly less accurate, but it's still very powerful. And there's a lot of stuff in there. There's often a lot of low-hanging fruit in there. So if you haven't looked at your Search Console data, that would be a good place to start. An obvious easy one, conversion tracking and e-commerce tracking in Google Analytics. So you can see exactly where the sales are coming from end to end. And a CRM to tie, if you have a long sales cycle, tying your CRM into the kind of end-to-end conversion piece and being clear and be able to see what customers are doing and the path they're taking is really important, particularly if you're doing paid traffic. Most CRMs integrate with the paid tools, and they do integrate with the website. We typically use ActiveCampaign for most of our stuff, so we can actually see what customers are doing, and we've kind of a better idea of their journey. Review monitoring is a big one. So, we have tools that watch the reviews that are happening online. Facebook is a big one. Facebook and Google Maps are typically the two places we're watching for reviews, and just general brand mentions across the web. We use mention.net for that. I think that's pretty much it. Lucky Orange we use for heat maps, and Lucky Orange is a good one because we can see what visitors are doing on the website. So if you've never seen that before, it's really powerful. It's really cheap. I think it's 10 or 20 bucks a month, but it will actually show you videos of actual user sessions on the website, where they're clicking, their mouse movements, what they're looking at. So from figuring out whether your content is matching that user intent or satisfying that user, it can be a very powerful tool. And it is kind of, if you're looking at doing any conversion rate optimization, Lucky Orange or Hotjar is another similar tool. That would be the tool to start with to give you an idea of how users are interacting with the site. And then probably the last one, we use this tool called Agency Analytics. It's designed for marketing agencies, but it's a really good tool. It has some really good dashboards in there. It's a really good way to kind of get management level, high level overviews of what's happening in your business with the website and everything else without having to dig into the data and log into 20 different tools. So that's generally our tool set there. But tracking conversions end to end is really important. So you actually know what which keywords are important in terms of selling stuff and converting customers. So it's not just about the volume of traffic and where you're ranking, it's actually about selling stuff at the end of the day. We talked about this yesterday, that, we have a commercial focus. At the end of the day, it's, commercial first. We have a commercial purpose, and 99% of the time that's going to be making money and selling stuff. There are some businesses that's not the purpose, but, commercial first, we want to be clear that we want traffic so we can sell our products and services, sell more of our products and services. So it's really important that we're tracking both the traffic and the conversion piece. Alrighty, so that's tracking. It's my little rant on tools and tracking. What have we got next? Okay, so on-page and text stuff. So I'll run through this quickly. So we talked about some of this stuff yesterday. So this is like, in effect, checking the boxes, making sure that we're not kind of hurting ourselves from a technical perspective. So you need good quality hosting that's fast. We talked about that yesterday, really important. An uptime robot for monitoring the uptime, because if your site's down all the time, that's a problem, and customers will be unhappy. Backups is really important, particularly when we're talking about SEO, because SEO, like, again, I just want to reiterate that SEO isn't free. Like, it requires work, even though you're not paying for advertising. Thinking about this stuff, even being on the webinar, requires time, it requires effort and energy. And, you're optimizing the site, you're adding content, you're tweaking pages and meta descriptions. If you're not backing that stuff up and something happens to the website, it gets hacked, your provider has an issue, the server falls over. If you don't have a backup, then you've lost all that work effectively, and you've potentially lost those rankings. So, as I said yesterday, we use BlogVault for backups. I don't know, Chris, if you have a particular backup plugin you like, but I like BlogVault because it has real-time backups. So for a course site or a membership site where things are happening on the site all day long, customers or users are commenting or buying things. And if you're using WooCommerce for the checkout, there's a lot of things happening, or even the Lifter checkout, there's orders going in there all day long at random times. So a single daily backup's probably not good enough. You really need to have real-time backup.
That's a good one. I just want to add, we interviewed the founder of BlogVault on our podcast. His name's Akshat Chaudhry, and it's a great episode. We go deep in backups, but yeah, that's a great choice.
Yeah. And another one that people don't talk about is protecting your domain name. So again, your entire business is sitting on this domain name, and the domain name costs 10 or 20 bucks a month, and nobody really, a year, and nobody really thinks about it because it's kind of this throwaway cost. But basically, you've built this digital asset that's sitting on top of this product that costs you 10 or $20, and it's kind of like an afterthought. Nobody really thinks about domain names. So from protecting your stuff, really being careful about your domain name, protecting it, having two-factor authentication on whoever you're using as your domain registrar. And, .com domains, I think you can register for 10 years into the future. So registering it for as far as
$100.
Yeah. It's, you're building this, people are spending thousands of dollars a day on Facebook ads, and all this stuff is, resting on top of this $10 or $20 domain name that no one's thinking about, no one's keeping up to date, that potentially is on a pretty average or poor quality registrar. So really think about your domain name, details up to date, register as far in the future as you can, two-factor authentication, because the entire business is resting on that, and all your search engine rankings are tied to that domain name. So if you lose that domain or something goes wrong, you forget to re-register it, then that's a big problem. And we see it so often that domain names expire, and it's horrible. And it's sad. Like some people lose domain names and don't get them back, but that's the way it works. So can't stress that enough. Protecting the downside, backups and domain name, really important. Alrighty. Keyword content matching we talked about. So, that's really key, and making sure that those pages are well optimized, both for search and conversion. So, it's like I said, it's great to get the traffic and we can target the page to get all the SEO traffic we want. But if that traffic doesn't convert or doesn't do what we want it to do or opt in or whatever it is, then the traffic's kind of worthless. So I see this mistake quite a bit, that people stuff pages full of keywords or just full of content that doesn't, it's content for the sake of content as opposed to really solving the customer's need or speaking to their intent or really helping them. So it's really important that when you're building the content, that the pages are technically optimized, like they've got the H1 tag, they've got alt tags for images, the image file names are set with keywords that, that all that technical SEO stuff is kind of well done, but make sure that the pages they're talking to the visitor and they're addressing the stuff that we want for search and SEO. So at the end of the day, commercial first. It's always about, helping the customer and getting the conversion if it's appropriate. Technical on-page stuff, we use SEMrush. SEMrush is a really good on-page SEO tool. And I'll have a link. There's a 7-day free trial that will allow you to sign up, run an audit, and it will tell you. It's a really good tool that we run all our sites through, and it's it's a good just general SEO checklist. It'll uncover anything that's obviously wrong or broken with the website. That's probably a good place to start with the on-page stuff, and it will pump out a list of recommendations and things that need to be kind of addressed or fixed. A big one, if you have repeatable tasks like content publishing, like most course creators are pushing out content on a regular basis, making sure there's the process for that content, because a lot of the time it'll be VA or someone else that's putting that content together or publishing on the website. So having a standard process, so things like the meta description and open graph tags are all taken care of as part of that content publishing process is really important, because it's great that you have the content out there, but if making sure that these things are optimized and taken care of on an ongoing basis is really important. So we use Process Street. I love this tool because it's a checklist and an explanation of the process in one. So there's really no gaps for mistakes. The checklist is either done or it's not. And if something was missed or it's a gray area, then the checklist can be updated and it's taken care of in the future. So there's a link there. So we have clients who create content and then they haven't taken care of some of these things. So they might have, they've done 10 or 20 blog posts and they haven't done anything with the meta descriptions or open graph tags or anything like that. So we created this basic Process Street template that just makes sure that we have the boxes checked from an SEO basics perspective when they're publishing new blog posts or new pages on the website. So there's the link there. It's a long link, but you'll have the slides anyway, so you'll be able to click on that. And it has some short explanation videos that will explain each step of the way, like things like alt tags, image file names, simple stuff like that makes a difference overall to the website. And, on an ongoing basis needs to be done and you need to be mindful of. So that might be useful for you. But generally just using Process Street for anything that's repeatable in the business is a good way to kind of leverage the team, make sure things are being done correctly, and make sure that you're not creating any SEO gaps or content's expensive to create. So making sure you're getting the most out of it is really important. Alrighty, I think we've only got two more left. All right, simple link building. Backlinks are still important for SEO. So, here are some simple ways to get links. And we've talked about some of these. Maps listings, claiming all your social properties and linking them together, or making sure that the content is syndicated to all of them in a simple way. So you publish it once and it goes to all of them. Video and audio. So if you're doing video, publishing the video on all platforms is a really easy way to leverage that. So Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, Instagram, and your own website. So you're pushing on all the platforms, and audio. SoundCloud is a good one for audio as well. Citations is a local SEO technique. Citations are effectively directory listings in a sense. They're an easy way if you need more backlinks to your site. They're an easy way to get links to your site, and Google likes to see that websites are a real brand and business. So giving your your business and address and a phone number. It doesn't have to be public. And then leveraging the citation link building method is a really good way to push links to your site. And some other ways that have worked really well for us and clients is getting on podcasts or starting your own podcast. Because podcasts get shared, naturally they have links to all sorts of different places. So it's a really powerful way to get out there, both from an SEO perspective and general marketing. And then leveraging affiliates as well is another good way, particularly for courses. The affiliates and podcasts kind of linked in together. It's a good way to get out there. It's a good way to get links back to the site and kind of, it's sustainable, I guess, as well. It's not like there's nothing shady, there's nothing black hat. It's a sustainable SEO technique that broadly supports the business. Alrighty, how are we going, Chris? I've got
That's
one more.
Good stuff, man. That's good stuff. I'm taking notes.
Cool. All right, so I've got one more advanced technique. So I added this in. Some of this stuff that, if someone's been actively doing SEO or aggressively doing SEO, they might have a lot of those boxes checked. This is a bit more of an advanced SEO technique. So people are probably aware of banner ads or display ads. So using the Google Display Network. There's one hybrid technique we use for targeting these banner ads that it's kind of SEO, it's kind of paid traffic. So what we do, so let's talk about GDN ads for a minute. So Google Display Network, if you're doing Facebook ads and haven't looked at GDN, it's probably worth doing. It's, outside of anything to do with SEO from a paid traffic perspective, Google Display Network has really powerful targeting, really cheap, and really effective from a conversion perspective. I mean, here are some results. This was an e-commerce-ish site. So, if we look at the ad costs versus those conversions, we spent $4,000 on ads and got 24.5K of sales. So that's ridiculous return on spend there, 6.3 times return on spend. And then the second line, we spent $2K on ads and got 16 grand back, so 7.5 times return on spend. So GDN is really powerful and really cheap. This was an info product, so 18 million impressions. We spent $4.5 grand, $4,700 and got 569 conversions. So again, dirt cheap. The clicks cost nothing, 12 cents a click. Like, it's just ridiculous. So, and a lot of people are, Facebook ads is, everyone knows about Facebook ads, but not as many people are leveraging GDN. So one way we can leverage, so GDN can be hyper targeted. So, these ads, so GDN is the publisher end of AdSense. So AdSense is basically, people have AdSense ads on their site, and that's driven by Google Display Network. So it's an easy way to, it's cheap, converts very well, and these ads are everywhere. So if we kind of leverage this from a search perspective, we can kind of get our ads on websites that are ranking in search results without having to do that much SEO ourselves. So what I mean by this, let me just move forward.
So you can be an ad on a high value site, basically.
I had an example here. Hang on, which one is it? I think we had one for you. I don't know which slide it is, but so best LMS was one of the keyword terms you were targeting. So if we search this term, we have a bunch of different kind of roundup pages with LMSs on them, top 20 LMS software of 2018. Now, half of these are running AdSense ads. So if we click on this one.
Because they're media sites, or they're, right? Like they're making money off of ads.
Ads and affiliates. So this here is an AdSense block. So to rank for the search term is going to be a lot of work. So it might take a lot of links, it might take a lot of SEO, and these are big sites you're competing against. Huge, PC Magazine is a huge site.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to attack the search engine results directly, we can use Google Display Network, and we can just target this page. So we can set up our targeting to target just this page and run ads here for LifterLMS as an example.
For fairly affordable.
Yeah, so you might be paying. So that example I had was 12 cents a click. It's probably not. It might not be that cheap, but still less than $1. And this is someone who's looking for, a new LMS, or, they're shopping around if they're on this page, and you're just targeting this ad block here, or there might be another ad block further down, but you're just targeting this page. So it's the same thing. I'm guessing PC Mag has, I didn't actually click on this yesterday. PC Mag is pretty notorious as well for advertising. There you go. So that block at the top there, that is that's an ad block driven by display network. So if you had a campaign like, you know, you're promoting the $1 30-day demo, you know, having an ad there at the top, that's a really easy way to get that. It's still search traffic. If someone's on this page, they've searched for LMS software or LMS systems. So you don't have to do all the work to rank for that search term, but you're still getting the benefit of that search traffic. That makes sense?
Very cool. Thank you for the homework. You're gonna keep it easy for a little bit.
So yeah, so the thing is, like, display network has got very finite targeting. So you can target this particular page here. And also because you have a customer list, so you cookie people have been to the website, or you have an email list of customers, you can exclude those customers. So you know you're only targeting people who are looking for an LMS who aren't an existing customer. So it's a really powerful tool, and using it that way is kind of like a hybrid SEO technique.
Very cool.
So I've got some other notes in there. I don't know. I don't think we need to go through them in more detail, but there's a lot of different ways to target display network ads. So you can target, you know, subreddit. So if you've got a subreddit that is about your particular topic or relates to your course, like there is a didgeridoo subreddit that we target for our didgeridoo lessons, and we can just target that subreddit because the targeting is so powerful. That's one way to do it. So, you know, potentially there's I don't know if there's a subreddit on course creation. There probably is. You could target ads there for Lifter, for example. Basically anything that's any sort of niche market is probably going to have a subreddit on Reddit. So that's one way to target it. Basically just Google search terms that are related to the product, broad match search terms like that best LMS search term, see what's in the Google search results, have a look at those pages. Also do it on YouTube. So you can target YouTube channels, you can target YouTube videos. And they don't necessarily have to be video ads on YouTube. They can just be those banner ads. You know, there's lots of different ways to slice and dice it. I guess the key thing to be aware of, the traffic is dirt cheap. The targeting is very, very narrow and precise. Not a lot of people know about it, so it's really powerful. And, you know, you don't need a huge budget to do it. If you are going to do it, I'd suggest that you do it with an offer, have an attractive offer that will get people to click and convert, similar to how you would run a Facebook ad campaign.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, basically look at what's in the search results and see if they have AdSense blocks. That's it. And you can advertise there if you want to be in the, you know, you can advertise on that page and, you know, grab that traffic dirt cheap, basically. What else we talk about? Forums. If there's a forum for your particular industry or topic or whatever it is, that's another powerful one. Again, there's some didgeridoo forums that we put AdSense ads on that we just target those particular forums. And it costs us a few bucks a month and we get a ton of conversions out of it. YouTube we talked about. Review sites is a big one. So if, you know, people are reviewing courses, again, they typically run AdSense ads. So that's another way there's lots of different ways to target it. A couple of important things: use impression capping. So there's no impression capping on Facebook, but there is impression capping on GDN. So, you know, you can show the ad 5 or 10 times a day or a week to somebody. And if they're not going to click after 5 or 10 times, they probably won't click. So you have that control over, and most people on the webinar have probably had that experience where they visit a website and that website just spams them with ads for weeks on end. So that's a case where they haven't used impression capping. So if you're going to use GDN, use the impression capping. Use remarketing lists. So use effectively negative remarketing lists. So you're excluding your existing customers or people who are already on your list, because we don't want them seeing that. You know, if we're talking about acquiring new customers. Yeah, meeting the customers where they are, the visitors where they are in the funnel. So if they're middle of funnel, top of funnel, you don't really want to be getting them to convert if they're still in an information gathering stage. So yeah, just remember the marketing fundamentals, that AIDA funnel. So I think that's it. Oh, there's a link to an article that has some examples of some ads. It's an older post, but it has some banner ad examples. All right, I think, yeah, that's it. That's what we've got. So I think, what did we go for? We went for an hour or so, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. That's so much good stuff there. And that's your the searchengineshop.com /SEO-4-courses. Is that where the slides are going to be?
So there's a link there already to the slides. There are links to all the things we talked about. There is that video on the CTR optimization that goes into a bit more detail and shows you exactly where to put the template. And there's a couple other bits and pieces there as well. So heaps of stuff there.
That's awesome. And Brendan also has his course at paretoecommerce.com. That's where I first learned about all this. His mate, Rob, I believe, introduced me to Brendan. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I got into it and I was like, we got to get this guy in front of the course building community. And you totally over delivered here. I want to turn it over to the audience. Who has questions for Brendan? We have an SEO expert, a WordPress expert, a site speed expert, a paid advertising expert. How can we help you today? Use the Q&A box and feel free to ask questions, specifically to your niche or anything that we covered. We'll be happy to answer those.
Give me 1 second, Chris. Someone's mowing their lawn next door.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The joys of working at home.
We did have a couple of questions come through in the chat. And also, if anybody wants to raise your hand and ask questions live or have a quick conversation live, we'd be happy to do that. Darren says his Q&A box is disconnected. Just use the chat if you can't get into the Q&A box. Not sure what's going on. Zoom was having a little gremlin. So Anthony is wondering if you can just run his life. He said that he has a lot of reviews, but he doesn't see them in search results. And they use an extension for reviews, which I actually had a question related to this.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lifter has a review system. It also integrates with WooCommerce that has a review system. When you say reviews and search results, is that like a review on Google or where is that review coming from?
Well, there's a lot of different ways you can do reviews. So I guess it really depends on your market, right? You can get reviews pushed into so you can reviews on your site. Okay, that's one. So in the product pages or inside the membership site or whatever. But you can have the reviews directly on the Facebook page, or you can have the reviews put on the Maps page, the Google Maps page, or, if there's some other platform that's relevant for your business, pushing the reviews there, for a local business, Yelp, getting Yelp reviews would be one. So I guess it's generally having reviews around the web. And when we work with clients, we'll have a target. We'll want to get so many reviews on the Facebook page, get at least 20 on the Facebook page, for example, just so we have a bit of insulation there against, a single bad review. So I guess it's really a case of, broadly talking about reviews, but having reviews where customers are looking. So Facebook pages will almost always show up in the search results. So that's probably
So Facebook reviews will show up in Google search results.
Yeah. So, and if you have a maps listing, they will also pull from the maps listing. So one of the examples we have for Didgeridoo Breath. So if we search this one, you see the second result is the Facebook page. So you'll see the star rating shows there in the search results, 4.6 rating after 380 reviews. And you'll see that it also, Google Maps will pull in reviews as well from other sources.
I wanted to ask you a question based on that, the Google Maps. So for a lot of course creators, let's say if they are an education entrepreneur, startup, working from home, one of the things I've done in the past for businesses like that is I'll go to my local town mailbox service and I'll get a box for the business, which I need anyways to open a bank account for that business, which is where I want the money to flow because I'm treating it like a business. So even if my business serves the entire world, are you saying that it's still good to have for example, I have a course site on organic farming and permaculture. And when you look it up on the internet, it shows where I registered the business in Whitefish, Montana. And that's where my mailbox for that is. Are you saying that's good? Well, even if you don't have to live in Montana to learn these things?
Yeah, it's really more about controlling the search results. So there's a lot of, for starters, let's talk about there's a few components. It's a great link. So from an SEO perspective, more links is almost always better. So it's a really powerful link. It allows us to control the search results with much more control. Half the search result here is the Google Maps listing. So it allows us to control the search result, and it's a good place to get reviews. So there's a lot of different reasons to do it. So in this case, Didgeridoo Breath is part of our online. So it is the retail side of the online store that is part of our Didgeridoo business. So there's Didgeridoo Breath, which is the online store, and then there's Didgeridoo Dojo, which is our membership site. So it actually was a physical retail store, but now retail costs are ridiculous and everyone's going online. So the store was shut and now it's online only. So you'll see here that it doesn't actually have a street address, and it just says that it services all of Australia. So you can set it so the address is hidden like that. And I don't think it's a huge issue that, I mean, some cases, there's always exceptions, but it's not really a big deal. The physical location. I mean, even for our WP Speedfix business, we actually just set up the listing a couple of months ago. And you'll see there that it shows, we haven't pushed any reviews to it yet, but you'll see there that allows us to control the search results. And you see in this particular case, we have some competitors showing. I mean, the business is still pretty new. It's only a year old, but as a standalone business. So we actually have some competitors showing up. So we need to do a bit of work here. These guys here in particular, this is a direct competitor, and it really stands out because they've got the review stars there. So this is a good example of, we're getting kind of hammered here. Our Facebook page is right down the bottom and we've got 3 or 4 competitors showing up, but it allows us to, this is a good distraction from all these other competitors here. So, I mean, it's just another tool. There's a lot of different reasons to use it. There's a lot of different, reasons not to use it. I mean, it's going to be unique to everyone's circumstance, but it is very powerful and it's free. It's one of those things that has a lot of power and it's still very free, very DIY, easy to set up. So
that's awesome. We've got a couple more questions here. What is the most important process to remember when you're getting Google to index your XML page or do your sitemap or what?
I mean, really, the sitemap has, it doesn't have much importance like it used to. I mean, it tells Google what pages are on the site. I guess broadly, we don't want to send conflicting signals to Google. So we want to be, we want to make sure that we have, from a very technical perspective, that we've set the tags on any page we don't want to appear in the search results to no index. So for example, if you are using WooCommerce, we want to no index the cart page and the checkout page and any other page that we don't actively want indexed. And we want, so if we no index the pages and we want the sitemap to reflect that. So if you're using Yoast, if you no index something, a page will disappear from the sitemap. So if you add the sitemap link into Google Search Console, it will index the sitemap. We just want to make sure that the sitemap isn't telling Google to index pages that we don't want to have indexed, or that we're not sending conflicting signals. There's a, we want to make sure there's no page in the sitemap that has a no index tag, for example. I mean, Google is very powerful and it's very smart in some ways, but it's also very stupid in other ways. So anytime you're kind of sending a conflicting signal to Google, it's a problem because it might not necessarily have the logic there to work out what to do with it. So it might just get confused and do nothing or penalize you or just nothing ranks. And that, that we talked about when we're talking about content, if we have more than one page targeting a search term, so we've got a particular search term we want to rank for and we've got 2 pages on the website, it doesn't know what to do. It doesn't understand which one is more relevant. It doesn't understand which one you want to rank. So it'll kind of, some cases it might rank neither. It might rank the wrong one. It's just, we never want to have a conflicting signal. So it's still just a computer with a set of rules. So you just want to be clear that you're not sending any confusing data or conflicting data. So in the sitemap, if you're saying one thing in the sitemap, hey, index this page, and then on the page itself, it has a no index tag, or whatever, that's a conflicting signal. So I think that's more important than just simply, having the sitemap indexed. Making sure that the sitemap is clean is probably a more important thing. But sitemap will get indexed if it's in the Search Console. So
that is awesome. And Rodney Knox, he asked that question. He actually has a couple follow-up questions. Rodney, if you want to raise your hand and chat live, we can feel free to do that. All right, he's coming up. So we're going to bring Rodney up here. Basically, he was saying, how does he remove a page if he doesn't want to index? But I wanted to bring him up in case he had more detail on that.
Yeah, I just no index it. So the no index tag in the Yoast settings on the particular page, one of the tabs has a setting. I think it says now, do you want this page to appear in the search results? Something along those lines. And by default, it'll be yes, but you just set that to no. That'll add the no index tag. And then the next time the indexer comes around, it'll remove it. Well, eventually it will remove it. It might take several weeks.
Rodney, you're live with us. How's it going, man?
Hey, good, Chris. Thanks. Thank you, Brendan. That really helped. So obviously, being all new to this, several Several pages went up that we don't want up. It's nothing terrible, but
Well, I'm just curious as a course creator, what kind of pages went up that you didn't want up?
so what went up, normally we had the front load pages. So you've got the front page, and then you've got each of the courses has their own web page. But of course, we've got those linked and tied to Lifter and tied to the checkout and tied to everything else. So what went up is actually our business is psychological help with the courts. So what we do is we offer classes for the court system. And one of the things they have to do is they have to go through an intake period, and they also have to do a release of records. So both of those pages that were made with forms loaded when we did the indexing. So once I looked, then I saw where the guy should have unchecked the index. But what you're saying is if we do that now, the next time the index comes around, it'll just pull those pages down?
Yeah, it'll take some time. It might need to index them a few times. So if you set the no index tag so they don't show this in the search results, and then if you go back into Google Search Console, and I don't know what it's called in the new Search Console, but in the old Search Console it was called Fetch as Google. So if you do that, do the fetch, and then you can click a button to I think the button is submit, or the link is submit to index. Google will go back and index that page. So that'll speed up the process a little bit. But if it's a brand new site, you'll probably be able to get it out quicker. So it might take 2 to 4 weeks for it to disappear. There's also, there's another tool in there. You can remove the URL. I can't remember where it's under, but there's somewhere in there you can ask Google to remove the URL. But I'm always cautious about doing that. Because you don't really know what's happening under the bonnet. So if you're not in a huge rush, then just doing the fetch as Google and resubmitting it to the index is probably the safest way to do it. So, but yeah, there's going to be a lag. It might be 2 to 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks for it to start to disappear.
Okay. No, that's perfect. And what I've done is I've defaulted back to the old version of the dashboard that Google has, because the new one doesn't give you as many options as the old one does. So, yeah. All right. I appreciate it. Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rodney. We have another question just about, I don't know if you can speak to it, but it's a question just about the difference between Yoast and the all-in-one SEO plugin. And while you were talking, I looked it up. Yoast has 5 million installs of the free plugin, and all-in-one has 2 million. They're both quite huge. Does it really matter which tool they're using?
I don't think so. They're pretty much roughly the same. I like Yoast. All our processes are built on Yoast. So Yoast have done some. They've made a lot of, like recently, they've done some updates and they've broken things or things people don't like. So the SEO purists and the SEO space, people are a little bit unhappy with Yoast because of some of those things. But it's personal preference. I think they're it's half of one. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's the same thing, really. I think it's just the one that you like using the most. There's no, I don't think there's a material difference between the two, really.
Awesome. Kristen is asking, and I may need some help, Kristen, on the question, but she's saying, does a piece of content for a keyword have to be on a separate page? So I think she's asking, if you're going to try to rank for a keyword, does it really need its own page, or it can be mixed with other keywords?
Well, broadly, if the search terms, there's a lot of similar search terms. So if it's a very similar search term, then one single page can be for that search term. But ideally, they should be separate pages. If they're really different search terms, then they really need to be different pages. So, okay, so for example, on our site, so we have on the Search Engine Shop website, we have a page about how to fix slow WordPress. And then we have a page about how to fix slow WooCommerce, which we technically could do that on the WordPress page, but they're different enough search terms and the content is different enough that we have 2 different pages for it. But it's also a resources thing. Like if you've got limited resources, you want to deploy those where they're going to get the most leverage. So you need to be mindful of that as well. Like in a perfect world, we have thousands of search terms and thousands of pages, but you know, with practical small business land, you don't have a whole team of writers to take care of this stuff. So you just got to be strategic, I guess, about doing this stuff where you're going to get the most leverage. But yeah, I think broadly, if the search terms are different enough and there's enough search volume for them and they're important enough to the business, you probably do need separate pages.
That's awesome. Thank you. And we've just drawn the winner of the $99 LifterLMS add-on. If you're already a customer, we can apply it to your license, or you can apply it to a bigger product or bundle. And that's Ann Gerritsen. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Congratulations, Ann. Hit us up at team@lifterlms.com and we'll hook you up with that. I have just another question for you, Brendan. What can we learn from heat maps? So like if we look at our website and we see like there's a you know, flurry of activity in certain areas, or I guess maybe a different way to phrase the question is, what's an example of something that you've learned from a heat map that you then changed and made things better?
Yeah, a simple one would be images that are not linked, or that like you click on them and nothing happens, but in the heat map, there's a lot of clicks on it. So that usually means that people want to click through and learn, you know, get something about that image. That's probably an easy one, low-hanging fruit. Menu items as well, like menu items that get no clicks or are getting a lot of clicks, like fiddling with the order of menus is a big one. Lucky Orange is an interesting one. I like to, if we're working on a site, just sitting down for 20 minutes, 30 minutes and watching, you know, a bunch of user videos just to see what's going on. Like it's a bit of I wouldn't say it's an art, but it's, you know, it's a subjective thing. Just watch them. It's basically, you see all the mouse movements and clicks. So you're looking over their shoulder effectively. It's a bit creepy if you've never seen that before. But usually you'll see a trend. Like if you're looking at a Lucky Orange, there's different ways to kind of segment the traffic. If you're looking at your paid traffic, for example, for a particular search term in Lucky Orange, and like, you'll just see a trend, like to be something obvious. You're like, you can see them looking around. You're like, they're looking for something, and it might be like, you know, payment information, or they're looking for the order button, or it's just, you might see things that you think are obvious, and it's like click there, it's obvious, but that might not be to visitors. So I think the heat maps are very hard and fast, and like, this is where they're clicking, whereas I think those user behavior videos are a bit more of that kind of soft, subjective kind of spy on the visitors and be a bit creepy kind of thing. But yeah, you might pick up one or two really valuable insights by watching them.
That is awesome. Well, I really appreciate you, Brendan, for spending so much time with us today. Anne says, wow, thank you. She never wins anything. Well, you won today, but actually everybody is a winner because we learned a lot about SEO today. That was an incredible presentation. I think my biggest takeaway personally is that to treat your search engine results like you're paying for them, and really, you know, look at click-through rating, because going from 1% to 2% click-through rate, like you said, is like 100% increase in traffic. Yeah. So that's really amazing. Definitely going to go back and watch this. I've got to go look at drift events and try to get them into analytics. And I've just got a bunch of notes over here I have to go now implement. Darren says, thank you. Appreciate the kind words. John says, thank you. Yep, we got a bunch of thanks coming in. Anne was at both of them, both your workshops. We've got a link there in the chat, the searchengineshop.com/SEO-4-courses. Go check that out for more details about what we talked about today. Brendan was on our podcast, LMS Cast. If you haven't seen that yet, we kind of combine the topics of SEO and speed, and also Brendan's journey as a course creator himself. So if you haven't seen that yet, check that out. Brendan, is there anywhere else people can connect with you and find out more about what you're up to?
Probably Facebook. It's weird to say that, but you know, Facebook these days is like probably the best place, I guess.
Awesome. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I've just been checking in here and there. For some reason, Zoom wasn't streaming to Facebook, so I could stream to YouTube. I saw a bunch of people watching live on YouTube. If you're watching this live on YouTube or you're catching the replay on YouTube, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought. And I'm going to stop the live stream there. But yeah, Brendan, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, you're a great teacher. Keep up the great work. And
Thanks, sir.
look forward to collaborating more with you. And thanks so much.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks, dude.
All right. Have a great day.